So yeah, good evening guys and welcome to interview preparation session which is being conducted by 360DigiTMG. And in today's session, we'll check some of the basic questions regarding Python. And first question for the day guys, what are negative indices? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah, so as we look into this, so let's take an index as a so here I've taken a list, and for that list I've taken some numbers with respect to that. Okay, so in it we do have two types of indexing, as you all know. The first one is a positive indexing, whereas the next one is negative indexing. The positive indexing always starts with 0, whereas the negative indexing always starts with -1. So with respect to that itself, we are just going with -3. So here -3, what's the in this from my list, what's the output for -3? At it's 6, right? So the same way, it also helps in slicing. For 6 is 2, -6 is 2, -1. All the digits from -6 to -2 will be printed in the console part if you want to run that particular list. Okay. So yeah, as we jump into the next question, how does the remove function helps in program? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, the function, this remove function, suppose if I'm taking a list, in that list, I've been adding apple, banana, and cherry. These are the three variables in my list. Okay. So from this, I just want to remove banana by using this remove function. I'm just removing that banana. So if I print that particular list now, my output, which means my output in the console part only be the apple and cherry because I've been removed, right? I've been removed this banana by using this remove list from the Python. So as we look into the next question, so what is a Python set? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. So as we look into this, so these sets are used to store multiple items in a single variable. So set is one of these four built-in data types and used for the collection of like you store the collections of data. So in this we do have three. There are list, tuples, and dictionaries, right? So all with different qualities and usages. So a set is a collection which is unordered, unchangeable, and unindexed format. So as we jump into the next question, so what are the benefits of using a Python? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, it is easy to use, interpreted language, dynamically typed, free and open source, and supports for libraries as well as portable. So as we jump into the next question, so what's the difference between .py and .pyc file? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, so this .py file are the Python source code files in which this .pyc files contains the bytecode of the Python. So these PYC files are created when the code is imported from some other source, and the interpreter converts sources to .py files to PYC files with saving by same time. So as we jump into the next question, what is slicing in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. So as we look into this, slicing, it is basically used to access the parts of sequences like list, tuples, strings. So the syntax of slicing is start, end, and step. So the step can be omitted as well. So when we write this, return all the elements of the sequences from the start till the end minus one element, minus first element of the end. So if the start or the element is negative, it means the ith element from the end, and the step includes the jump or how many elements need to be skipped. So as we jump into the next question, so what are keywords in Python and how many keywords are present? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, the keywords in Python are reserved words that have special meaning. So they're generally used to define the type of the variables, and the keywords cannot be used for variables or any other function names. So there are 33 keywords in this Python. Like as we jump into the next question, so what are literals in Python, and explain different literals. So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. So as we look into this, so a literal in Python has represents a fixed value for primitive data types. So there are five types of literals in Python. The first one goes to the string literal, and the second one goes to the character. Third one is numerical. Fourth one is boolean, and fifth one is further classified as four subtypes. There are list, tuples, set, and dictionaries. So string literals. So a string literal is created by assigning some text keywords enclosed in between a single quotes or double quotes. So for example, here Tanya, I have put an example here, right? Like name Tanya. So that's one of the example for that. So character literal. It's a creation of or assigning a single character enclosing with double quotes or single quotes is called a character literal. So they include numeric values that can be either integer, float values, or complex. Those are called as numerical literals. And these Boolean literals consist of only either true or false or zero or one. So these are the representations of a list, a tuple, and a set, and a dictionary, as you all know. And the sixth literal which I'm talking about is a special literal. So this Python has one special literal, so which is used to return a null variable. So as we jump into the next question, how to combine data frames in Panda. So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, so the data frames in Python can be combined in many ways, like following ways, and those are concatenating them by stacking the two data frames horizontally and the same way vertically, and combining them on a common column, which is referred as joining. So this concatenation function is used to concatenate two data frames, and the syntax is pd dot concat data from data frame one name of the data frame, and the name of the second data frame name. So as we jump into the next question, so what is a Python path? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, so in this Python path, it is an environment variable which is used when a module is imported. So whenever a module is imported, this also look up to check for the presence of imported modules in various directories, and the interpreter uses it to determine which module to be loaded. So with respect to that, this Python path will works. So as we jump into the next question, so what are local variables and global variables? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. So as we look into this, the difference between global variable. So the variables which are declared outside a function or in a global space are called as global variables, and these variables can be accessed by any function in the program. So as we go with the local variable, any variable which is declared inside a function is known as a local variable. So this variable is present in the local space and not in the global space. So as we jump into the next question, so what's the difference between a Python array and a list? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, as we all know, arrays list in Python have same way of storing data. So this list, tuples, dictionaries, they're all of data types in this Python programming language. But arrays can hold only a single data type element, whereas list can hold any data type of elements. There's the only difference between. So as we jump into the next question, so what are functions in Python? Like what are they used for? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, a function is a block of code which is executed only when it is called. So if you want to run, if you want to execute this kind of function, you have to call it. So to define a Python function, we have to use def, define as keyword is used. So as we jump into the next question, what is this INIT stands for? Like what does it actually means? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, so INAP, so this is a method or construction in Python. So this method is automatically called to allocate memory when a new object or an instance of a class is created. So all the classes have this in INIT method. Okay. So as we jump into the next question, so what is a self in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, so this is an instance or an object of a class. So in this is explicitly included as a first parameter. So however, this is not in case of Java where it's optional. So we might take it or we might not. It depends. Okay. So it helps to differentiate between the methods and attributes of a class with a local variable. And the self variable in the INIT method, it basically refers a newly created objects, while in other methods, it refers to the objects whose methods were called. So as we jump into the next question, so what does this function actually do? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, so this is used to reverse the order of an array or a sequence. Suppose if my array is ARR, so I've created an array with ARR dot array is I've been given a number. Okay. So if I print this line array of this particular function which have been mentioned in the question, so my output will be the same but in the reverse order. The order change, the function which have been shown in the screen, it basically reverse the whole order. Okay. So as we jump into the next question, how do you write comments in Python? I think most of you know regarding this. So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, hash. So comments in Python with hash character, however, the alternative times, if we mention any hash character in the above code in Python, it will be taking this as a command. It won't take it as a whole code. Okay. So as we jump into the next question, how will you capitalize the first letter of a string? So we do have a separate method for it, right? So if anyone has an idea on it, they can just ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Okay. So as we look into this, they capitalize. So this method uses to capitalize the first letter of a string. So if the string already consists of a capital letter at the beginning, then it basically returns the original string itself. So as we look into the next question, so what's a doc string? So if anyone has an idea on it, they can please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as you look into this, a doc string, it is a documentation string that we use to explain what a construct does. So we place it as a first thing under a function or a class or a method to just describe what it actually does. So we declare a doc string using three sets of single or double quotes. So as we jump into the next question, so what is a recursion? So if anyone has an idea on it, they can just ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, so when a function makes a call to itself and it is termed as a recursion, but then in order for it to avoid forming an infinite loop, we use this base condition called as recursion. So as we jump into the next question, uh, how is Python different from Java? So if anyone has an idea on it, they can just ping me in the chat box. If else, we'll just discuss in a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, Java is faster than Python, and the Python mandates indentations, whereas the Java needs the braces. And the Python is dynamically typed, where Java is statistically typed. Python is simple and concise, whereas Java is verbose. And Python is interpreted, whereas Java is platform independent. And Java has some strong database access with JDB. So not only in this, we do in Python we do have a separate for a physical oriented as well as a procedure oriented program, but in Java, but in Python we do have it can provide both the procedural as well as the function oriented programming in the same piece. So that's it for the day, guys. Thanks for joining, and we'll meet you in the next session. Till then, hope you have a great day, guys. Bye.